Old friend, I'm going to talk to you the way a coach talks to a man he respects. Not like a priest handing down riddles from a high altar, because you don't need incense and robes. You need something you can test on a Tuesday night when the house is quiet and your phone is face down on the kitchen counter, and you are wondering why, after all these years of doing the right things, there's still a knot that won't loosen just beneath your ribs. So hear me plainly, the most sophisticated mask the ego ever learned to wear is the one that says, I am the observer. And if you keep that mask on, your life will improve in ways that look spiritual while the fundamental imprisonment remains untouched. I have walked beside men like you across deserts of silence and fluorescent-lit grocery aisles at 10 p.m., and I have seen the same hunger in both places, the longing to rest as a self that no longer needs to be defended, but the position of the witness, that perch where you narrate your thoughts. As clouds moving through a big sky, is not the resting place you think it is. It's a luxury suite built inside the same old jail, with softer lighting and better views. And you are so proud of your new accommodations that you forget the door still locks from the outside. I say this not to shame you, but to spare you years of polishing the bars. I want you free. Think of how you've trained yourself. You sit, you breathe, you notice a stream of thought about work or family or the stock market or your lower back, and you say with quiet authority, a thought is arising, and I am merely witnessing. And with that sentence, you feel a clean distance, like stepping out of a dense room into cool evening air. There is dignity in it. You no longer bark at your kids or rush to correct your partner mid-sentence. You feel calmer, kinder, more in control. And yet underneath that newfound poise is a contract the mind wrote and you never read the fine print. You promise to keep a subtle identity alive, the one called the one who witnesses. And as long as that one survives, division survives, and where there is division there will always be friction, like grit in a bearing you keep greasing but never remove. You sense this in small betrayals, the moment you catch yourself being proud of being above the drama, the moment you use detachment to avoid saying I'm sorry, the moment you ache to be seen as wise and steady even when you are tired and messy and aching for a hug. You call this boundaries. But often it is a polished loneliness. Let me put a sharper edge on it. When you say I am the observer, you have built a triangle. There is the I, there is the act of observing, and there is the thing observed. 3 corners, 3 lines, this is geometry, not liberation. The triangle is elegant and stable, which is precisely why it is persuasive. It makes you feel like you've risen above the storm to the control tower. But tell me, pilot, who is watching you in the tower? If you can notice yourself noticing, then the one who notices the noticer stands outside the tower, and if you try to make that too into the observer, the tower grows another floor and another, and infinite scaffolding reaching nowhere. This is why your practice sometimes feels like climbing a stairway that continually builds itself one step ahead of your foot. You keep ascending and never arrive. And when the weariness hits, you seek a new teacher, a bolder technique, a longer retreat, a colder plunge, the next habit stack, anything to believe. The next rung will be the last. You are not addicted to peace, friend. You are addicted to hope. The way out begins with something so simple the mind calls it an insult. Drop the position. By position, I mean any place where you stand as someone who has a vantage point on experience. You know how to stand in positions. Father, boss, provider, fixer, sage, observer is just the final promotion in the same company. When I tell you to drop it, the first reaction is usually panic dressed as reason. If I don't stand somewhere, I'll fall into nothingness. I'll become irresponsible or spaced, out or weak. Who will run my business, pay the mortgage, love my people? Listen carefully. I am not asking you to stop making breakfast or showing up for the meeting or telling your friend the truth he doesn't want to hear. I am asking you to let the breakfast, the meeting, the truth happen without an owner. Right now, as you read, hearing happens, seeing happens, breath happens. Find the one doing them. Not the story of the one, not the birth certificate, not the signature you've been refining for decades, the actual doer. When you look with the same honesty you demand from others, you will find activity without a center, like wind moving a field of grass. This discovery is not mystical. It is your ordinary experience when nobody is watching. You have tasted it in a jump shot that leaves your hand before I forms, in the way a perfect one-liner comes out of your mouth during an argument and surprises you as much as your opponent, in the feel of driving a familiar highway at night and arriving before you can explain how the miles dissolved. Those are not flow states reserved for athletes and artists. They are cracks in the mask where life moves unowned. The witness position tries to turn that crack into a window with curtains and a plaque and a chair with your name on it. I want the wall gone. You will ask me, but isn't awareness real? Aren't I supposed to be the screen and not the movie? Awareness happens, yes. The movie plays, yes. But when you turn awareness into your badge, you've taken the cleanest thing and made it sticky. The screen analogy is useful for a day and dangerous by the weekend, because the mind turns I am the screen into a new identity and uses it to judge every character that shows up on it. You see an angry coworker, and instead of meeting him human to human, you measure how well you remain as the screen, which is like checking your pulse while sprinting to make sure you're still a runner. Stop self-monitoring. Be here without a title. Your pulse is fine. I know the American flavor of your doubt, the one tempered by podcasts and productivity, so let's talk plain. You fear losing the edge that made you successful. You fear that if you surrender the observer you will slide back into reactivity and chaos. I say keep your edge and lose your grip. You do not need the identity of the witness to listen better in a sales call. Listening happens more cleanly when nobody is inside trying to prove he's the best listener in the room. You do not need detachment to talk to your teenage son. You need the kind of presence that is so unguarded he feels safe to be clumsy and honest. You do not need equanimity to handle a market dip. You need clarity about risk and the humility to be wrong and the courage to change your plan without defending an image of the guy who is always composed. These are not spiritual virtues. They are human competencies that flourish when the witness costume is back on its hanger. Here is a hard exercise you can do before the coffee finishes brewing. Pause and listen to the refrigerator hum, a car passing, a distant dog, the soft rhythm inside your chest. Acknowledge hearing is happening. Now look for the hearer like you would look for your wallet, direct, practical. Not a concept, a location. When you don't find him, don't rush to label that absence pure awareness. Leave it unlabeled for 5 counts. Watch how the mind lunges to reclaim the moment. Ah yes, this is me. As awareness, this is witnessing, this is the practice. Catch that lunge the way you catch your hand going to a bowl of chips after you promised yourself to stop at 20. Smile, drop it, 5 more counts. The point is not to create a new state. The point is to starve the habit of standing somewhere. Do this in a meeting, on a walk, in line at the pharmacy. You will start to feel a subtle flavor of relief, like loosening a belt 1 notch after dinner. That relief is the absence of a manager. In your head, your performance does not decline. You simply stop paying the salary of a job that was never needed. Another test. When anger arises, watch how fast the sentence "I am angry" forms. Try to keep up with it like a sprinter catching a thief. Just before the sentence solidifies, there is heat, tightness, speed, a flicker of electricity through the shoulders and throat. None of those sensations carry a name tag. The mind offers to pin one on, my anger. Let the offer expire. Now anger still does what anger does. Sets boundaries, says no, protects what matters. But because it is not hired as your identity, it completes its task and leaves rather than taking over the house. This is what you always hoped witnessing would deliver. But identity crept in through the back door. I am closing that door for you. And yes, there will be fear. Let's be honest about it. You will taste a hollow drop in the gut like the first dip of a roller coaster. The mind will say, if I'm not the observer, then who am I? Am I nothing? That panic is a child who lost the hand it was holding in a crowd. Do not scold him. Take his hand and keep walking, meaning breathe once, feel your feet, answer the email you were going to answer anyway. Let normal life keep moving while the old identity looks around and realizes the world didn't end without it. Fear is just another wave at the shore. You don't need to build a seawall. You need to stop claiming the wave is your name. You may wonder where I am fits into this, the simple sense of existence you discovered when you peeled away the roles of husband, manager, veteran, provider. I will not chase that too far today. Another time we will step past even that, but I will warn you here. The sense of I am is a cleaner suit, tailored and breathable, but still a suit. If you wear it without a name tag, it can keep you warm while we walk. If you embroider it with titles, it will itch. For now, notice that even the taste of being, that quiet hum you hear inside when the house goes silent, appears to you. You are undeniable, but the label you pin on being is optional. Keep the experience, lose the story. I want to speak to the part of you that's tired of performing for God. You know that part, because it sighs when you light the candle to meditate, as if you're clocking in for your second job. You thought that sitting as the observer would finally release you from needing to be impressive, but you only learned a more refined way to impress yourself. I am cutting your hours. No more self-performance reviews. The next time the thought arises, how am I doing at witnessing? Am I spacious enough? Try this dangerous move. Say out loud, softly, no one is here. Then answer your kid's question about homework or your colleague's message with exactly the same care you would have given if you were spacious enough. Notice nothing is lost. If anything, more of you is available, because there is no backstage manager counting points. This is not nihilism. It is intimacy. Your life will feel closer because no one is standing between you and it with a clipboard. Do not confuse this with sloppiness. A man without a position is not a man without standards. If anything, your standards become cleaner because you are no longer propping up an image. You are serving what the moment actually asks. You will apologize sooner, not later. You will say no with less heat and more firmness. You will work out because the body functions better when cared for, not because your mirror grants a merit badge. You will show your love not through spiritual language but by taking the trash out and making the call you've been avoiding. Your partner will feel the difference. Less sermon, more presence. Your team will feel it. Less posturing, more clarity. Your son will feel it. The sense that dad is not hiding behind wisdom, he's here. If you need words to carry with you in your pocket, use these. No stance. Anytime you catch yourself standing above an experience, whisper those two words and watch yourself drop an inch closer to what's actually in front of you, as if you removed a pair of invisible boots. Do this when praise comes and when criticism comes, when the traffic cuts you off and when the clerk smiles exactly the way you needed someone to smile at you today. No stance doesn't make you passive. It makes you responsive. The timing of your action sharpens because you aren't hesitating to consult the witness about whether action is spiritually appropriate. Sometimes you'll roar. Sometimes you'll be quiet. The difference will not be driven by a concept of who you should be, but by the intelligence of the situation. This is grown man spirituality, the kind that doesn't ask your life to kneel before a practice, but lets practice dissolve into life. I will leave you with an image sturdy enough for an American morning. A snowblower that starts on the first pull after years of needing a dozen. All we've done is take the choke off. The engine was fine. Fuel was present. The choke, your position as the observer, flooded the system with just enough extra to keep it sputtering. When you stop choking the moment with me as the witness, combustion happens cleanly. The work gets done with less smoke. The air in the garage doesn't sting. This is not enlightenment. This is sanity. Today, before you tell anyone about what you're doing, prove it to yourself in private. Listen without stance once. Breathe once without owner. Write one email from zero. Let the day be witness to itself. When the old habit returns, as it will, smile like a man who knows his own house and set the mask back on the shelf. You don't have to smash it. You just don't have to wear it. Keep walking with me, and the room with the locked door will open not because you broke it down, but because it was never locked, only memorized. You had learned to stand in front of it pretending to guard something precious. Step aside and see what walks through. Brother, now that we've torn down the pedestal where you stood as the noble observer, I need you to walk with me one step further, and I know it may stir resistance in your gut like bad whiskey, because this next step isn't about shedding the roles you've carried or the quiet stance of the witness you thought was freedom. It's about setting fire to the very floor you've been standing on, the floor called I am. You've probably felt it before, that raw hum of being itself when the house is still, when you're not anybody's boss, not anybody's father, not even your own critic, you just exist simple and naked, the clean fact of being alive. Most teachers would pat your shoulder and tell you to camp there forever. But I tell you plainly, even this pure I am is a visitor, not the owner. You don't have to believe me. Just test it. In deep sleep last night, where was your precious I am? It wasn't humming. It wasn't glowing. It was gone, swallowed in blankness. And yet something remained, because you woke up and said, I slept well. Who or what knew that? That's what I'm pointing at, the thing prior to the sense of existing, the groundless ground that doesn't blink on and off with consciousness. You want a practical angle, so let's go there. Right now, say quietly to yourself, I exist. Feel how solid it sounds, like concrete under your boots. Now pause and ask, what knows this fact that I exist? The question is dynamite. Don't let your mind rush in with an answer like pure awareness, or the soul, or any shiny concept you've picked up from a podcast. Stay empty-handed. The silence you feel isn't a void. It's the place that doesn't need a name to be what it is. The I am is just the first ripple in that silent ocean, and you've mistaken the ripple for the sea. Think of it like this. When your first grandchild was born and you held her, there was a moment of awe so big it swallowed you whole, before thought rushed in to call it, I am a grandfather. That awe, that naked presence, was already just a ripple. The real source is beyond even that. I know what your mind is doing right now. It's scrambling, like a linebacker after a blown coverage, trying to catch hold of something to tackle because to let go of I am feels like annihilation. But I promise you it isn't death. It's the end of carrying a badge that was never yours to begin with. What dies is the compulsion to be someone in order to be real. You've spent decades trying to be the right kind of someone. A provider, a strong man, the calm witness. Each role was heavy armor. Dropping I am is dropping the whole armory. You won't vanish. You'll finally move unarmored. Let's test it in daily life. Say you're at work and a problem blows up, the kind that makes your chest tighten. The identity voice kicks in. I am the one who has to fix this. Watch how quickly I am hooks you. Now pause. Ask, before rushing to solve, what is aware of this pressure to be the fixer? Notice how the moment you ask, the weight lightens, not because the problem is solved, but because you've stepped back from the throne of I am into the open field where fixing and failing are both just waves rolling through. This is not detachment in the smug sense, it's intimacy, because you're meeting the problem without the drag of a false crown. The same happens at home. Your wife is upset, your son doesn't listen, and the sentence forms in your skull. I am the husband who must keep this steady. Or, I am the father who must be respected. Those I am labels feel natural, like breathing, but they turn every conversation into a test of identity. Drop them. Don't become passive, listen, respond, argue if you must, but without wearing the title. The love that flows then is different. It's cleaner because it isn't contaminated by fear of losing your position. You'll notice your words hit deeper because they're not filtered through the need to maintain, I am the strong one. You may ask, if I let go of even I am, how do I live? Won't I float away into nothing? Brother, listen. You've never needed I am to brush your teeth, to drive your truck, to kiss your kids goodnight. All those things happened long before you wrapped them in the story of me doing them. Dropping I am doesn't paralyze you. It frees you to live without the drag of self-commentary. Imagine playing basketball while a man follows you with a microphone announcing every move. He is dribbling, he is pivoting, he is shooting. Annoying, right? That's what I am does to your entire life. Shut off the microphone. The game goes on smoother. Now here's the part that really shocks the mind. Even consciousness itself, the very light by which you know you exist, is temporary. It's like the projector light in a theater. The film of your life is running, the light makes it visible, but what you are is the screen that was there before the first reel started and will remain after the projector cools down. You can't see the screen while you're lost in the movie, but it's always holding everything. That screen doesn't announce, I am a screen. It doesn't need to. It just is. That's you in the deepest sense, not the beam of I am, not the witness watching the movie, but the silent fact that allows any of it to happen at all. So how do you train yourself to stop clinging to I am? You don't train, you recognize. Recognition is like realizing the snake you jumped away from is just a rope. No years of snake meditation required. Next time you feel the hum of I am, the bare sense of existing, don't push it away. Just notice. This too appears to me. That one shift is enough. You don't have to nail it all day, every day. A crack in the armor is enough for the light to pour through. Over time, the habit of clinging weakens. Life starts living itself without so much effort from you. I won't lie, this will unsettle you. It should. A man who has built his life on being reliable, capable, unshakable doesn't give up his ground easily. But you've already suspected that ground wasn't as solid as you pretended. You felt it at 3 in the morning when you woke up sweating with no reason. You felt it when a compliment didn't land the way you thought it would. You felt it when the role you played so well still left you lonely. That was the I am leaking at the seams. Let it collapse. What's left when it does isn't emptiness. It's the ordinary miracle of being here without having to be anyone. Brother, let me say it plain. You are not the observer, you are not even the I am. You are the silent source from which both arise, the sea too deep for storms to disturb. Stop mistaking ripples for the ocean. Stop polishing titles like witness or awareness. You don't need a title. You are the thing titles float in. And when you finally let that truth sink, life won't become distant or abstract. It will become closer than your breath. Every argument, every laugh, every hard day at work will carry the same flavor of freedom. Nothing to prove, nothing to defend, everything to live. That is the step past I am. That is the doorway no badge can unlock, but which was never locked to begin with. Step through.